Hello, my name is Karen, and I have a journey through the court system that I'd like to share with you. I wrote a book documenting my 12-year nightmare through the family court, aka the divorce industry. This isn't a book that gets a subject that gets a lot of attention. It's not very sexy. Very few people are marching on it or running for its cause, but there really is a big cultural message that people should be warned of, and mostly because of the effects on children. So I am introducing my book through this Kickstarter project. My hope, of course, is to have the book published and then to share this with others. It's really an inside glimpse into the court system and all the things that can happen that if you're anything like me, you just wouldn't believe it happened unless it was happening to you. So I hope you will take the time and look through the rewards with my book and some of my artwork. And underneath this video, you will also see some samples of my painting. I've spent the bulk of my life, since I'm 4 years old, being an artist and approached the world through an artist's viewpoint. Which I came to realize could be a very naive viewpoint, especially when it comes to the court system. And I realized that of all my job descriptions or career titles, the most important one was my role as a mother. So this book is written with the hopes of saving children of divorce for never having to go through what my children had to suffer at the hands of a really corrupt and dysfunctional and greedy court system. And it becomes a story of my running away with my son to protect him, of my ex-husband hiring detectives to follow me and my daughter 24/7. It's like we're in a bad mafia movie, or like there's people following us and waiting to get us, and at times me being driven off the side of the road by cars and being trapped in my own home, and of how a person can use the legal system to really harass and abuse someone. And so even though this seems at first like it's a he said, she said story, it's really not that. It's really a story of all of the players in the court system, all of the people who benefit off of the money, which includes the judge, which includes the lawyers, the court psychologists, the guardian ad litems, and anyone else who makes money out of someone else's sad experience and has just no regard for the effects on children. And the irony of this story is that I was accused of being crazy, a typical thing used against women for not hundreds of years, but thousands of years. Whenever a woman doesn't fall into line the way men want her to, or system wants her to, or religion wants her to, then she is marked crazy. And that's what they did to me. They called me into a courtroom one day on 1 hour's notice, knowing full well that my attorney was away on vacation, so I would not have representation. Knowing full well I wouldn't even have enough time to get witnesses together, not really even knowing why I was being pulled into court. And so let me just give you a little glimpse into one part of this story. Let me introduce myself. I am Judge Richard Eade. Let me explain the rules. There are none except for me. I run it, and when you come into my chambers, you are no longer in the United States. You are no longer in a democracy anymore. You just walked into a dictatorship. I am the tyrant. I run the show. It is my show. You are no longer really parents. You are parents in name only when you are with me. I am the parent. If the day you got married, someone told you that the most important decision in your life, the most important thing in your life, the most important precious asset in your life was going to be totally decided by a stranger, you would run, buy an assault weapon, and say, "This is the United States of America. This is a democracy. We are not a community run by a totalitarian dictatorship." Yet, that is what it has come to. It was at that second that the judge's bailiff locked the courtroom door, handed me a phone, and forced me to call my daughter, and told me that I had to have my son ready to hand over to his father. The judge wouldn't let me say one word in my defense. He wouldn't let the lawyer who came that day say one word in my defense, because she was a real estate lawyer and didn't know my case. He wouldn't let me even talk to my son and explain to him the circumstances, say goodbye to him. I walked out of that courtroom when they finally let me leave, stunned, just unbelievable. And so I continued to fight and struggle and use every means possible to get my son back, to see my son, as my son went into a deep, deep depression. And he gained so much weight. And during that time, my son and I ran away. We were put on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, along with Osama bin Laden and 8 other Muslims. My family was sued in 3 separate lawsuits. My daughter was harassed to the point that she had to try and get a restraining order. And I ended up in jail. For years they wouldn't let my son speak. And he wasn't a young child when this happened. He was 12. They didn't want to hear from my son, and they didn't want to hear from my daughter. They wanted to follow the money. And that's what they did. So, I hope you will be intrigued, and I really, really hope that you will buy the book or pass the word along to someone that might need to use this book. Because everything that you think the law should be in the United States of America doesn't have to be. And once they start using the term "in the best interest of the child," you will find that that's just lawyer speak for how can we get more money out of this family. Because once they start assigning the court whores, those being the guardians and the court psychologists and all the people that make a ton of money off the case, then you know the last thing they're really interested in is the child. Because once they start draining the family of all its funds, it can never ever be in the best interest of the child. So, look at the pictures, read the rewards. So I thank you all in advance. I thank all of my family and friends, many of you who are in the book, part of the book, and have supported me and encouraged me throughout this long ordeal. I did end up with cancer twice at the end of the ordeal, and gee, that was no surprise. But I am a survivor, and I am here to tell you this story, and hope that this story never happens to one other child again. So, thank you.